Okay, then. We've looked at the cinematic. I have gushed about it. Good lord, the line did an amazing job with that Spirit Blossom cinematic. So let's look at the things that the cinematic was actually advertising, which is the Spirit Blossom skins. These are the actual product that the cinematic was trying to sell. Although, one of the things it wasn't trying to sell, or at least one of the things that didn't really appear in it, was Spirit Blossom Zyra, who didn't really get to have much of a role in the cinematic. She's not the only one, of course. Like, a bunch of the Spirit Blossom skins didn't show up in any meaningful way in the cinematic, which is a pity, but it's the way it goes. And, let's start with her story. Once there was a woman with a broken heart who longed to forget her sorrow. A powerful spirit, moved by her plight, granted her wish. The woman's tears turned to blossoms, her body took root, and the garden of forgetting was born. Now, weary hearts wander into its embrace, hoping the blooms will ease their grief. Now, this, I think, is a really cool story. Like, I think that's a really cool concept. Spirit Blossom, at its heart, is kind of ghost stories, right? Like, not ghost stories as in horror, necessarily, but they are stories about, like, oh, what happens to you after you die, or, like, what are these spirits that exist in the Ionian spirit realm that are both helpful and harmful, that are both dangerous and scary, but also, like, kind of comforting and nice, like spirit guides and, like, these dangerous spirits that might trap you as you wander through the spirit realm. Things like they are ghost stories, sort of at the heart of them, and they deal with a bunch of human emotions and feelings, right? Like, they are spirits that represent some part of the human existence, and I like this idea with Zyra, right? That this is someone who was so brokenhearted, who was so weary and sad from life and existence that, like, she becomes this avatar of the desire to forget painful memory. Like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind kind of deal, right? I think that's cool. Like, I think that's a really cool idea. It's cool. It's a cool idea also to connect the idea of forgetting your memories to the idea of blossoms, right? Like, to the idea of flowers, that you enter the garden of forgetting, and then presumably is like your sorrows, your fears, your memories, your anxieties, your pain is all converted into beautiful flowers that then bloom in the garden, and then maybe also it kills you and consumes your soul or something, like, who knows? But that vibe, like, and connecting the idea of sad memories to blossoming flowers, like, that can sort of blossom and wither away or vanish from you, like, that's a cool idea. And, like, I like the visual idea in my head of, like, someone desperately sad entering the garden of forgetting, and, like, the flowers are so pretty, and, like, the air smells so sweet, and they kind of lay down and cry, and as they cry, their tears sort of become these little flower seeds that spread out, and, like a blossom grows over their heart, and then eventually maybe they become part of the landscape, but they are free, they're sort of relieved from their burden of grief. All of that is very cool sort of imagery to play with in my head. The trouble comes when we try to take that imagery from inside of my head. I'm trying to point at my own head here. It's a little awkward because it has a bigger head than me, this puppet. And we try and put that into a character design that can kind of express something about it. And, like, if you'd given me 100 tries, I don't think I would have ever, like, if I had only seen the character design, I don't think I would have ever been like, oh, no, yes, obviously this is a spirit of grief. I think I would have gotten grief from this, or brokenheartedness, or romantic sadness, or melancholy. Like, I don't really think any of these things particularly come across with this version of Zyra very much, unfortunately. This, to me, feels a lot more like just, what if Zyra, but she's wearing a Spirit Blossom-themed costume now? And that's pretty common for skins, right? Like, she's hardly the only skin who is constructed this way. Like, most of the major skin lines, the ones that have, like, a lot of skins in them, like fucking Project is the best example, they all kind of end up looking kind of the same, because it is just, what if X champion, but they're wearing a costume that's themed after this, but there isn't, like, a really strong narrative or design concept that they wanted to express with that character design. Now, Zyra is Zyra, right? She is what she is, and she's a very old character design and character model. She's from that time in League of Legends when it wasn't so much that it was a fighting game way back when, but it was, like, more of a sort of Smash Brothers vibe to it, right? Like, because League of Legends once upon a time was, here's an angel, and here's the Egyptian god of the dead, and here's, like, a fantasy sorcerer and a minotaur, and here's a pirate queen, And here is like a knockoff Poison Ivy, and they're all fighting. Like, they're all fighting on the Rift, and it's all like in the lore. It's like, oh, it's this big wrestling like fighting tournament where they're all like, oh, doing all these wrestling moves and winning points with the crowds and showing off and being flashy and things like that. It's like, oh, that used to be the concept. That was what Zyra was designed for way back in the day. She had that, like, a little bit more of that wrestling aesthetic thing. So she's a kind of second-rate knockoff of Poison Ivy, like a even sexier Poison Ivy knockoff, without a lot of strong concept to herself, and not really very compelling character design. And when you make a skin for Zyra, whatever you make kind of has to fit over a character model that's designed to be those things, right? And I quite liked, sort of recently, Blood Moon Zyra, right? Because that was a skin that took advantage of, like, Zyra is designed to be this, like, sort of sexy eye candy lady thing, and with the skin, we sort of take a sort of courtesan aesthetic. We sort of take a sort of sexualized geisha aesthetic, combine that with some folklore things about, I can't remember what it's called, but there's this, I think it's specifically a Japanese folklore demon that's like this thing of like, it has like a mouth on the back of its head, but it hides its face. And sort of the idea of it is that it looks like this extremely beautiful woman, but then there's this horrifying, scary thing hiding underneath her hair and the back of her head. And this one played a lot with that and sort of used Zyra's sexiness, right? Like the sexualization of the character was used as a part of the character design to evoke like some mythology from the real world. Compare and contrast, that worked really well for Blood Moon. It doesn't really work so well for Spirit Blossom, does it? Like, the idea that this is a spirit of heartbreak who tends like a little garden of flowers that are all made from people's painful memories is... I don't know that I really get that from what's going on here. This mostly looks like she's supposed to be sexy. Like, that seems like what the design is prioritizing, and certainly when you look at the splash art, you could argue maybe that she's kind of like, oh yeah, the Garden of Forgetting is like this pond, and she's got these water lilies, and she's tending the flowers, kind of. But when you look at the splash art, like, what's the priority here? The priority is that Zyra is really pretty, right? Like, the priority is that she looks very beautiful in her outfit. She's front and center. Everything's about her posing, posturing, cleavage out, like making a pose, like showing off the costume, showing off her body, being pretty. Nothing wrong with that as such. It's just, as an expression of this, of her narrative, it's poor. Like, it's a very poor expression of her narrative. And the criticism can sort of be directed in one of two directions there, right? On the one hand, you can say, well, the artists clearly have not done a great job of translating this narrative idea into a character design. That's possible. It's also possible that the character design was created first, and then they handed it to a writer, and it was like, write a story that fits this character design. And then the writer came up with this, and it's like, that's a really cool idea, writer. Like, writer, you did a very good job coming up with a really cool concept, but you did not do a good job of writing a story that would actually fit what the character looks like. Like, on that front, you, like D- see me after class. Exactly what the case is with, like, who knows? Like, who knows what the production cycle is there? What came first, chicken or the egg? I don't know. All I know is these two things don't line up. They don't match, and it's a bit of a pity, because, like, there are things that I could see that you could do to this character design that wouldn't be huge changes, but which would do a much better job of expressing this. And the thing that keeps coming to mind is, like, in the story, Zyra's grief becomes flowers, right? Like the heartbreak translates into blossoms and blooms and flowers, and her whole body sort of becomes this flower of grief that's blossoming and blooming. Okay. Heartbreak. Where is that? Well, heart, right? So what if we took the flower from the center of her stomach here, and we moved that up to the heart, up to the chest, right? Almost as like a what do they call it? The thing you wear on your like the Americans when you go to prom and you have the thing on your chest. Carnation? Is that the word for it? One of those things. Like, take the flower, move it up there, and then have the tendrils, like the plant tendrils and all of that, have that come from the flower that's over her heart, right? So that we create this visual thing of like, oh, okay, all the flower stuff, it's growing out of her broken heart, right? Like, all of this, like her power, who she is as a spirit, what she's capable of doing, it comes from her broken heart, and then it, like, expands out across the character from there. That little change would start to do something about, oh, okay, like, this is flowers from the heart, like, this is flowers coming from pain and heartbreak and, like, from all of that. And you wouldn't need to change that much else about the character design, that little change is like, okay, then some of the storytelling is in there now. Now, then we can kind of see that, like, no matter how you interpret it, you see that character, and whatever's going on is like, okay, whatever's going on, something with her is coming from the heart, right? Like, something about her power coming from the heart, something blooming from her heart. You would get those things, and you would get a bit of that storytelling in there. There's also the thing of, like, if she's supposed to be like a spirit of forgetting, right? Of like gently letting go of sad memories and sort of slipping into a blissful oblivion where you don't know or remember any painful things. This is a really aggressive design language for that, right? Like that's a sort of gentle thing, isn't it? Like forgetting, losing memories, like letting go of pains of you. That's a soft, very gentle thing. But all of the shape language on Zyra is sharp. Everything is sharp. Again, because Zyra is Zyra. She's designed to be this way. There's probably a hard limit to what they can do against that when they're not doing a legendary skin, but like sharp horns, sharp ornaments in the hair, sharp nails, sharp tendrils, sharp flower petals even. Everything about her is like sharp and pointed, and so she looks like a predator more than like a gardener. Right? She looks like someone who like hunts people down with her tendrils, like tears them apart. Like it looks aggressive, it looks dangerous, it looks like rather than something that's sort of maybe seductive. Like, because that's the thing, the sexualization isn't necessarily a problem, because the idea of like, hey, come to my garden of forgetting and I will relieve you of all the sad memories, all the pain, I will gently take it away. That can be constructed as a kind of seduction, right? Like you can incorporate an idea of like the sensual, the sexual, that can be incorporated into that kind of a story, just maybe not when it's also shape designed to be so aggressive, right? So this just doesn't work for me. I will say she's pretty, she's hot, like it's like no doubt about that. People are gonna make some fucking great cosplays out of this. Like, this is a very cosplayable character design for Zyra, which may have been part of the design considerations. Like, some people are going to look great wearing these around conventions at some point or another. And it's certainly appealing to me. Like, I do like the long thighs with, like, the tendrils, like, snaking their way up, like, really emphasizing the volume of the leg and things like, yeah, no, very appealing. Like, I'm the target audience for that kind of a thing, but artistically, not really, like, that's not really what this seems like it should be about. Like, either they should have written a story that fits this character design, or they should have designed that character to fit this story. Because as it stands right now, this is just kind of a costume skin, right? Like, what a silly thing to say, all the skins are costumes, but this is just a skin that's like, what if Champion, but they went to Spirit Halloween and they bought a Spirit Blossom costume, right? What would that look like? Well, Zyra would look like this. That sort of seems to be the thing. And it's kind of the same deal, unfortunately, with Varus. We'll start with the story again. As guardian of a peaceful temple, the archer welcomed a wandering artist, allowing him to shelter with his beloved monks. But when the artist painted him, the sorcerer's portrait leapt from the canvas and ravaged the temple. The archer's grief hardened to fury, and now he hunts the wicked artist, hoping to bring peace to those he could not save. So again, that's the story, and that's a cool idea. And I do wonder, like, the artist, that sounds a lot like Hui, doesn't it? Like, could be Jin, I suppose, but like the whole thing of like painting him and then the painting comes to life and does something, like, that feels much more like a Hui thing. So like, we're probably getting Spirit Blossom Hui in the next batch of these, whenever the hell that arrives. That might actually just be at the end of the season for all we know. And that's like, Hui I think would be a very good fit for Spirit Blossom. Like, I think, oh God, just please don't make him a fucking Gesalted skin. But I think he would be a very good fit for Spirit Blossom. Like, I think he could really, like, that could really, really work, design-wise. In a way that maybe this version of Varus... Right, so it's like, it's Varus, right? Like, Varus is the shirtless champion with the abs and, like, the titties out, and, like, he's the sexy shirtless archer guy. And so, for this character design, they kind of seem to have gone, well, he's the sexy shirtless archer guy with his titties out and the abs, so we need to have his titties out and the abs, because of it's Varus, and because that's who he is. And again, that doesn't really seem to be considering the narrative concept of the character, because, like, the narrative concept of the character is that Varus is the guardian of a peaceful temple, Like, he's a temple guard. He's this guy that stands watch outside the gates of, like, a peaceful temple where monks are going hum and, like, they're meditating, and, like, there's temple stuff happening in the background, and he's there being, like, chill and friendly and welcoming and, like, maybe a little stern, like a guardian, like a bouncer kind of thing. Maybe he's a little stern, maybe he's a little like, hey, you can't enter if you don't have peace in your heart, kind of something like that. That doesn't really square so much with this, does it? This is more a Set character design. Like, Set, in League of Legends, like, Set has the shirtless thing with the abs and thing, and that works really well because he's, number one, he's a fucking show-off, right? Like, he's a show-off. He is someone who fights in the arena for the applause of the audience. He's flashy, he's a show-off, he's cocky, and he is sexy, right? Like, sex appeal is a big part of Set's character design in that sense. Like, it says something about who he is, how he presents himself, how he acts in the ring, how he acts as a crime lord in the city that he like runs the underworld of. Temple Guard, again, is not really the first association I would have gotten from seeing this. Like, a guardian of a peaceful temple? No, not so much. That's not really the costuming I would expect from this. Now, I'm not really an expert on historical East Asian fashion, right? Like, so someone who is can correct me in the comments, but also, when I think of, like, a temple guard of, like, a Buddhist temple or, like, a Shinto temple or any of, like, the indigenous, like, any of, like, the older sort of spiritualistic, shamanistic religions that may be present in, like, China, Korea, East Asia, I don't know that this is the kind of outfit that I'm thinking of. Like, the image that comes to my mind is robes, right? Like, which, you know, is stereotypical on my part, I'm sure. Like, the big belt with the rope, that's a very anime kind of, like, I know that from East Asian media that I've consumed. But, like, this vest with, like, the spiky shoulders kind of deal, and then pants like this, like, they feel very modern to me. Like, this feels like a very modern kind of a costume to me. This feels much more like modern fashion that's sort of imitating a vague vibe of the historical. And there's a kind of... Yeah, there's a modern vibe to this design for Varus that I think undercuts the idea that he's supposed to be like the serene guardian of like an ancient temple of some kind. It doesn't really look old-fashioned in the way that you would expect from that kind of a character. And again here, we have a character who's... The deal with Varus is like his trust and his generosity were taken advantage of by someone who caused great pain and devastation, right? He's heartbroken. Again, we have this character like this is someone who is exploring the feeling of vengeance and vengefulness and wanting to hurt someone else in order to avenge your own broken heart. And again, I feel like the character design is missing out on opportunities to express that, right? So on base Varus, the demon arm and the corruption and all that, that's the darkened thing, right? Like, that's the... Valmar and Kai are inside of Varus's body, and they're sort of fighting with the darkened for control over the whole entity. More recently, they have sort of reconciled a little bit into more having a semi-collaborative relationship, but that was the visual idea of the character, right? Like, that the demon arm represents, like, the corruption of the darkened creeping up the arm. Here, I feel like there's an opportunity to do a similar thing, right? Like, that this is... sort of the manifestation of his lust for vengeance, right? And I guess that's kind of there, but the trouble is, what I would be looking for is then this thing should be notably a visual contrast to the rest of him, right? Because I will say this, the bow is fucking cool. The bow is really fucking cool. In fact, let's just have a look at, like, the shape language on this bow, like, the sort of flow of it, the way that it... Like, it looks like wings, almost, or something, like there's a little bit, maybe, like, something insectoid, ever so slight. Certainly in the splash art, there's a little bit of, like, insect wing sort of thing going on here. Like, it's a very, very cool shape design. I really, really, really like the bow. I think the bow looks cool as shit. I think it looks sick. I think it's awesome. And it kind of needs to be for a character like Varus. Like, the bow needs to be fucking good. But what would be looking for, if we're doing this thing of like, this is the embodiment of his lust for vengeance, right? And it's sort of this, maybe this corruptive force, the result of the moral injury that he took from the artist lying to him and using him to hurt the people he had sworn to protect. What I would want is for there to be a very strong contrast between the bow and then the rest of him, to sort of show that the bow, like, the rest of him is a protector, a guardian, a peaceful man who was just trying to do right by the people he was sworn to protect. And then the bow is like, no, actually, I'm going to go out and fuck some shit up. I'm going to fucking kill some people. I would want a strong contrast. And once again, with Varus, especially, like, the horns is also fine. Like, the horns can also be an expression of that, like, aggression. But then I would want the rest of the outfit to be very soft. Right? I would want the rest of the outfit to be very soft, to be very sort of mild, to be almost a little bit like sort of boring looking, perhaps even, as a means to contrast against this thing as like, holy shit, like this is a peaceful man who has been wronged, and he's about to do some shit about it, right? Like, this is like, I would want that contrast to be much stronger. To do the storytelling that this is like Varus on a vengeance mission. This is a good man who has gone dark, right? Like something like that. And that's just not really present in this character design, I feel, almost at all. And it's a pity. Because again, there was an opportunity there to do something with Varus' character design. I will also say, the dark hair, but then he's got like the one streak of white hair. I mean, it's a trope, it's stereotypical, and it's kind of lame. Like, that's kind of like, this is my half-demon, half-angel, half-human devil hunter, OC, who's a half-demon angel vampire, who's also a unicorn, right? Like, it's sort of a little bit like, it's a little bit juvenile in the way that it's put together here, because, like, again, with base Varus, right? He's designed around this idea of a split, right? Like a split between the people, the spirit of the humans, and the spirit of the darkened. So he's this half and half character where, like, he's demon pants, right? Halfway from his waist down and then onto the arm, it's like all demon, and then the human part is the rest of him. You can do something with a split there, right? Like the split between two parts would make sense there. And again, if the rest of the costume had that strong contrast with the arm, right? If you'd had that, like, oh, this is a very peaceful, calm, quiet, soft, sweet man, but then, like, demon arms, shapes with daggers and knives and, like, sharp and kill, then you could do kind of the same thing with the hair, right? Like, that most of the hair maybe is this sort of slightly conservative, like, very, like, oh, yeah, it's got, like, his hair done up in, like, a thing of, like, it's very proper, it's very well maintained, and then he's got this wild bit of like white hair that's just like this aggressive thing that's breaking free from the constraints of his previous softness. Like, okay, you could do something with that, but they kind of aren't, because he just has this wild anime Sasuke ass fucking anime boy hairstyle, and it just doesn't do anything with that. So once again, like, there's a cool concept here. You could really have done something with Varus' specific character design, and they just kind of didn't. They just kind of went, Varus, because of it's Varus, and he's the sexy archer man, who's the sex with tits out and the abs. So now he has the tits out and the abs because of that's Varus sexy man needs to have that out. And also, cool outfit with this sharp spikes because of, like, there's a lack of consideration of the storytelling. That really is disappointing me. Let's move on to Lux, then. When a kind young woman freed a trapped creature, a spirit in disguise, she was offered a single treasure. Among dazzling riches, she chose a plain gray stone, told that it could help many people. But it was no stone at all. It was no stone at all, but a shell with 2 glowing pearls. In her hands, they became a staff of light, a gift the Lady of Pearls now uses to guide others through darkness. And I gotta say, I quite like this little story right here. I like that. Like, that's a very classic sort of shape of a fairy tale, right? Like this person who's given this secret moral test, right? Like this test of their modesty and their purity, right? Where, oh, you can have gold, you can have riches, you can have like a powerful weapon, you can have, and they're like, I would like this shapeless stone, actually. Why? Well, because you said maybe I could use it to help some people. And it's like, oh, by choosing the humble choice, you have proven your virtue, and you're actually going to get the best gift of them all, which is like the light pearls. And you should, like, that's pretty cool. I like that as a fairy tale thing. And I will say, Lux kind of works for me, as a character design even. It's still very much like, what if Lux but in Spirit Blossom costume. But I think that works a little bit better for her because she's supposed to be like this young woman who's just kind of a normal person, and then she goes through this thing and she's given like this role by this spirit, right? Like she gets these magical pearls, and so like the fact that she's just kind of wearing a costume and it's not something about that feels more correct to me. Like that feels more like it works. Now I still think maybe this is a little bit too much modern, like the knee-high sort of like the whatever these are is going on with her legs. Something about that feels maybe a little modern for it. Where I can't help but think of like if she had an outfit that was sort of a little bit more like a classic shrine maiden kind of character, like a longer dress maybe. And again, I don't know, like it's a prestige skin though. Like they could probably afford to do some model changes and some animation updates for that. I feel like that you could do a little bit more to sort of make her look like she's like a regular girl next door who has sort of been transformed into a magical girl by going through this adventure and proving her virtue, right? But that's the thing I kind of like about it. Like this feels like a kind of magical girl-ish storyline of an ordinary person who proves their virtue, and thus they are given the power to be a hero, right? Like that kind of seems to be a little bit of the shape of this. And so the idea that it's just kind of a Spirit Blossom themed costume is like, okay, like she's a bit of a magical girl. It's a bit of a Sailor Moon situation, kind of, right? That kind of works for me. Now, being the prestige skin of the lot, the main expression of the prestige just seems to be there's a bunch of gold on this one. Which, prestige skins, they are a difficult thing. Riot still seem to be experimenting with what the hell they even want these skins to be. I kind of liked the fashion concept a lot of the time. Like sometimes that felt like a rich place to do some aesthetic explorations of the skin lines. Now that they're reintegrating the prestige skins back into the regular skin lines, it's a little bit like, okay, but does this look that much prestige relative to this? Like, does this look like the extra special, super expensive, this is the limited edition you only get, like, does it? Relative to... Because it just kind of looks like another one of them, with a bit more gold on it, so your mileage may vary on that one, but I don't really mind it. Like, I especially do quite like, actually, the shoulder pieces that she's got going on here. Like, something about them really kind of makes this feel more... Again, it feels a little bit more like a magical girl transformation kind of thing, right? To me, with these sort of armor pieces, actually, that sort of look a little bit battle-ready, almost. Like, there's something about that sort of supports that idea aesthetically, I think. I will also say, like, the half moon in the hair thing is, like, it does draw my thoughts over to Sailor Moon, sort of inevitably, just because it's sort of associated with that. But I do like, yeah, like, this is it's a pretty functional costume for the idea that it's supposed to express. I think if she looked a little bit more like regular girl next door, but in a fancy costume, I think it might really land. But generally, as a costume, as a concept, like, yeah, I think this one works. I think this one works better because she's not a spirit, right? Specifically because she's not a spirit, right? Like, she's not someone who's, like, actually of the spirit realm so much as she's a completely ordinary person, right? I guess technically that's kind of also what's supposed to be going on with Zyra and Varus. But the sort of cartoony extravagance of their character designs undercuts the idea that these were ever normal people. And that's sort of the thing I was talking about with Varus, right? Like, if they only made the rest of him a bit more plain to make the demon arms stand out more, like, that would probably have had the same effect as with Lux. Like, Lux feels a little bit more like a normal person who just got into a fancy costume, whereas these feel much more like cartoon characters. Yeah, I don't know. Something about Lux just works better for me. Like, something about this feels more cohesive, especially with the narrative that's offered to explain why she looks the way that she does. I might have to think about this for a little bit longer to sort of really suss out what the difference is. I do also like the detail, like the little glitter makeup. Let's actually make it pause and stop moving. The little glitter makeup under the eyes. Like, it's not super visible from further away, but it does add a little bit of something, I think. Even if, once again, this very much is a case of, like, I wish the characters would be recognizable as themselves for more than just the costume, right? Like, I wish that Lux had more of a recognizable face, because it does feel like it does feel like she has such a generic face that a lot of her skins change aspects of it. Yeah, I don't know. That's not really a criticism of the skin, that's more of a general thing. Moving on! Moving on to our splash art, actually. Now, the splash art, I think, does a better job of sort of communicating the prestige skin thing, because it has the sort of champagne pink and lots of gold and lots of shine thing going on. That is like sort of the classic prestige skin thing that they used to do before they turned it into the fashion skin line thing. So I think that does look pretty prestige. And I will say, it's a nicely rendered splash art. Like, take a look at that. Like, take a look at the fucking... the decoration, like the fucking little detail. Let me zoom in even more. Like the detailing on the little flower on her chest, like the glow inside of the pearl and the way they rendered, like it's a very pretty splash art, I will say. Not that any of the splash arts have been ugly so far. Ooh, I didn't even catch that. They've got sort of pearlescent... yeah, like Palamore. What's it called? The stuff of... is it just called pearlescence? I think it is. Like, but the particular shine that you get from pearls, right? Like that's incorporated a little bit into the texture design of her shells here. I quite like that. Like, it's a very, very pretty splash art, I will say. Looks quite prestige. In fact, let's just give the other splash arts their due as well, and sort of like go. Yeah, I'm not a super huge fan of the Zyra design here, but like, look at that. Look how fucking cool that looks, right? Oh, another thing we forgot with Zyra, actually. Something I did want to point out. I really like the plant designs. Like, short, again, the visual design is maybe a little too aggressive. Like, there's too much sharpness to a lot of them. But they do look good. Like, I like the sort of sheer white into, like, the pink and, like, this thing being, like, fully a lotus flower. I like that. Like, I think they look good. But I especially like the vine lasher. because it's a plant with a knife. Like, it's not a sharp plant. It's not that the plant is sharp. No, it just has a knife. Like, imagine if there was a fucking thorn spitter that was just that plant with a gun. It's just like, no. It's just, the plant just came out of the ground. It's like, oh, a knife. Stab. I like that. That's very cool. Like, that's very cute. A little silly, but in a way that I find charming. Like yeah, that's kind of campy and fun. In a way that, like, maybe the rest of the characters should have been a bit more campy and fun. Like, maybe that would be the direction to go, because this is just good. This is hilarious. Like, it's just like fucking. It's like a fucking plant grows out of the ground and then, like, picks up a sword. Like, Omae wa moshinderu. Like, I like that. That is funny. Anyway, splash art. That's Ashe. We'll deal with her later. Like, some really gorgeous rendering on, like, the plant bits here. And the trees, like, the way they are sort of, like, ringed with this gold. And the way that it all, like, flows together and stuff like that. That's very cool. Like, I like a lot of the very gorgeous bark texture here, actually. I like a lot of the artistic skill that's on display here. And, like, it's a little hard to see with all the blurring that they've done to the background, but, like, look at the way they painted the trees in the background and shit like that. It's like some artists who know their craft were fucking cooking with some of this shit here. Same thing here, right? Like, we have a little bit of visual storytelling, right? Like, that this is Varus holding, like, the magical painting that caused the devastation in his home, and it's sort of falling apart, right? Like, it's sort of disintegrating into paint itself. So you have this lovely canvas texture on the canvas itself, right? That then becomes this smooth blue, like these blotches of paint that just sort of sloughing off the character. I quite like that. Like, there's a good flow also to this splash art. Like, I like that all of the light is down here, right? Like, this is the thing that attracts attention, is the bow, because that's a glowing part. And then that's sort of the thing that eventually leads you up to, like, the top hierarchy of the image, which is up here, which is Varus's face. as he like contemplates his vengeance and stuff like that. Like, it's a good splash art. Like, it looks pretty. I might not put it in my best splash arts videos anytime soon, but it's like it's very prettily made. Like, there's some really nice work being done here with like the orbs on the end of his ropes, like the way that they have like shadows inside of them and things like that. Which again, does that kind of look like a person down there? Were they gonna go for that? Were they gonna do a thing where he had like multiple spirits inside of him and maybe they were trapped inside of these orbs here? Hard to say. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, good splash arts. Can't quite say the same thing as for... Okay, let's actually look at Ivern's splash art first, because this one sucks. I'm sorry. This is not a good splash art. This splash art actually kind of sucks. It's a very, very boring composition. It's just a character in the center with basically nothing going on around them. Right? Like, very little context for what's their environment, where are they, what are they doing, what are they, why are they here, what are they engaging with, what's happening here. Very little storytelling in what the character is doing or who they are. Their posture is like, his posture is very rigid, straight up and down, just centered in the image with, yeah, like, this is, I don't know who did the splash art. Apologies if you watch this, I'm sorry, but I just don't think this is very good. This is really visually very boring. His posture, to me, is very unclear. I don't really know what he's doing with his body. It's not really used... Like, because Ivern... Look at Ivern's body language in his base form, right? Like, look at what he does with his animations here. Look at the way that this character postures, poses, moves, interacts with the world, right? His animations have always taken great advantage of his lankiness, the length of his limbs, right? Like, his ability to bend and stretch. And, like, that's always kind of been Ivern's thing, is that he's this willow man, right? He's this springy, bendy, flexible tree person who, like, morphs and changes his body all over the place. He's the Green Father, right? And so what's this, right? Like, this is not taking advantage of the character at all. And even relative to... Because, like, lots of splash arts is like a centered character. They're not really doing anything. Like, there's not a lot of interesting action going on or whatever. But, like, with Lux, there's a pose, right? Like she has a posture that, like, has a little bit of a dynamism to a little bit of an S-curve, and there's all kinds of shit happening in the background here, right? Like, we have all of the, like, these arches with the flowers on them, and, like, this drapery falling down, and, like, there's stuff going on. There's an implication that she is somewhere, and she's doing something. Much the same with Varus, right? Like, he's in front of the gate of his ruined monastery, holding, like, the offending canvas of the person who wronged him, and Zyra is, like, walking through this pond, which presumably is her gardener forgetting, I guess, which is, like, a pond, which maybe a little incoherent, but she's doing something. There's an interesting angle going on here. We have, like, this top-down perspective with, like, some camera distortion. We have, like, this composition that sort of swirls around that, and she's in the process of taking an action that relates to her character in some way, shape, or form. Again, I have my problems with the storytelling of both of these skins, but at least the splash arts are doing something. This is just... I guess my best guess for what's happening here is that Ivern is in the treetops, and he's looking out at the world from the treetops, and that's why there's nothing going on in the background except a extremely blurred sky, where you can sort of hardly see what the environment is behind him. I guess that's what he's doing. He's sitting in a treetop. This is a very boring way to render that. Daisy's there, but except she isn't, because all she is this completely indistinct, completely blurred blob deep in the background of the image that's not interacting with Ivern, not being part of the narrative or the action or anything that has anything to do with him. She's just kind of a blob in the background, which, like, if you're gonna put Daisy in the splash art, let her do something, man. Like, let her interact with him or be a part of what's going on here at all. Now, Ivern relates to Ashe, right? Who's, like, which, like, maybe we'll just jump over and read Ashe's story to get some context for this. Myth tells of the wandering queen, whose curiosity led her to trade places with the Grove Mother. The cost of this choice was high, and she returned to see her loyal Ready Hand and the Grove Mother locked in combat. Throwing herself between them, she died in the Ready Hand's arms, her final words an apology. Now she roams the wilds, guarding the lost, right? Like, so that interacts with Irelia's story. Irelia has the best fucking splash art of this whole fucking line, by the way. So, when the Wandering Queen died, she was buried beneath the tree planted on the day she was born, a tree said to watch over her for all her days. She awoke in a world beyond, clutching one of its branches, which she shaped into a sacred bow. As the branch bloomed, the guardian tree revealed its spirit, a friend who'd been with her all along, right? Okay. Again, So the idea here is, this is like the spirit of the tree that was planted when Queen Ashe was first born, right? Planted over her graves. Okay. Again, might have to move Ashe a little bit. So that's this bow right here. We'll talk about Ashe later. So that's this bow right here, right? So this bow is essentially said to be made of the same stuff as Ivern. And I mean, I guess kind of, it's not impossible. Like, it's not, I'm not going to say like, oh, that doesn't make any sense at all. Just, I'm not seeing a lot of it beyond just, it's like bright white bark. This doesn't really feel like it has the same shape language as Ivern does it? This doesn't really feel like the bow is made out of Ivern so much. So I think that's contrived. Like, again, the question is the problem with the character designer or is the problem with the writer? And here I feel like it feels a little bit more like the problem is with the writer than with the character designer. It feels a little bit like the writer got this idea in their head of like, oh, Ivern is the tree from which Ashe's bow was formed, and like, let's put that in the story. That's cool. And it is cool, but maybe you didn't quite consider whether or not Ivern's character design would lend itself to the creation of a bow for Ashe. Because, like, if there's supposed to be a strong visual connection between the two characters, I ain't seeing it. I'm sorry. The other thing about Ivern's character design here that kind of baffles me is, why is he wearing armor? Like, why is he wearing what looks like a breastplate? Kind of. With pecs on it. Like, I guess because they sort of designed his old character design to be sort of having like a wooden body that kind of looked like a breastplate a little bit, right? But it's more like he's a carving of a wooden man, right? And I think that was sort of supposed to relate to the idea that Ivern is like he used to be a warlord back when he was human, so he might have worn a breastplate when he cut down the God Willow and was transformed, and then his incarnation into the God Willow sort of copied the shape language of that. But because the color is the way that it is with Ivern here, it doesn't really read as a piece of armor, unless you really look close at it, right? Like, it doesn't really read as armor, it reads like this is the carved upper body of like a wooden doll, or something like that. It's a Pinocchio-like, to me at least. With Ivern here, because you have these metal bits, right? Because you have this brass that's carved, that's set into it, all of a sudden now, this looks much more like a military kind of breastplate. Now, this looks much more like something that he would be wearing as a soldier of some kind, which again, that's not anything to do with the story here. Right? Like, that has nothing to do with what the story here is saying at all. He's not supposed to be a soldier. He's supposed to be a whimsical, happy spirit friend, right? Like, that's the idea. Something which Ivern, by the way, is amazingly well suited to. This is one thing I'll say about, like, the cohesion of the character design in the story. Conceptualizing, Ivern is like the whimsical spirit of a tree who's like supposed to be a friend to the wandering queen, like a sort of sidekick character to her, who like wanders around. He has this boulder creature called Daisy who follows him along. He's like supposed to be fun and whimsical and cheerful. Perfect. Like, that's a perfect fit for Ivern as a character. Absolutely a fantastic. But why would you then choose to design the character in a way that makes him look more militaristic? that makes him look more like he's wearing armor as though he's getting ready for a fight. Because that's not part of Ashe's story as the Wandering Queen either. She's not a military queen. She's not someone who does like fighting or warfare or whatever. That's really not her deal. So why would you choose to emphasize that with Ivern? I really genuinely struggle to quite comprehend why you would do that. I don't know what that's supposed to do for his character design at all, right? Because, like, on his old model, it's supposed to be this thing of, like, this clue. If you look very closely at him, you kind of see, oh, that's a clue to who he was long, long before he became the Green Father, right? It's this little Easter egg that's hidden in his character design. This takes that little Easter egg and just makes it so central, especially in the much maligned splash art, right? Like, the splash art that I've already sort of explained why I really don't like. This just looks like he's wearing a breastplate, and it's like, why is Ivern wearing military gear? Why is he wearing armor? Why would especially this version of him do that? And the skin really doesn't have an explanation because it doesn't really seem to know what the fuck it's doing. In the splash art, but certainly also with this design element. The rest of him, like, I like the idea of these two different colored, like, if you wanted to connect Ivern to Ashe, and especially to her bow, that's how you do it, right? Ashe took her bow from this, right? Like, this is like the front part of Ashe's bow, and like she's shaped it, the rest of it from here, and that's when you would have these bits here look like either they were broken off wood, or very much mirroring the shape language of Ashe's bow. And it would be fine if that made them very contrast with the rest of Ivern. It would be fine if that made them stand out as like very noticeably different than the rest of the wood textures and like the wood shape language on Ivern. That would be good, actually, because then you would be pointing out there's this unusual thing about him, and oh hey, that's connected to this other character, right? That's connected to the way that this bow looked. Like, imagine if Ivern in that Spirit Blossom skin had a head that had a shape language that was like sleek and long and sharp, the way that Ashe's bow is in this way. That would be cool, because I think that is the idea, right? Like, that these two twisted branches right here are supposed to correspond with these sort of twisted bits here. Like, that she sort of broke off the bow from there. I can see that as an idea. That could be very cool. It's just the rest of the design doesn't... The rest of it doesn't look like it's part of the bow. There isn't a strong visual connection between Ashe's bow and Ivern. It doesn't read. Like, it just doesn't read for me. Outside of that, Ivern is fine. Like, Ivern's character design is kind of fine. I don't know about the blue arm. I guess that's just a Spirit Blossom thing. But outside of that, it's fine. Like, I think they could honestly have gone harder, giving him even more, like, flowers, even more flowery decorations. They could really kind of over-decorated him a little bit, like they do with Daisy. Like, Daisy really has, like that fucking flower thing going on, right? Like, I like Daisy, in this skin line quite a bit. And Ivern is, like, for the most part, fine. Just, except for that fucking breastplate, and except for the lack of visual cohesion between his head and Ashe's bow, which is, like, seems to be supposed to be taken from his head, right? Those are the main things that I'm missing with Ivern. And then that fucking splash art. I honestly, this is really poor. Especially for Riot. Like, especially a company that also does this, right? Like, in modern times, we're kind of used to having better splash arts than this. Now, it's not that the painting quality is bad. Like, you look in close and, like, the way they painted, like, the veins on the leaves, and, like, the texture painting on his head, right? And things like that, and, like, the way they handle lighting, and the way they handle, like all of that, the color, that's all fine. It's as a composition. As a visual idea for a splash art, this feels very, very, very... I made an initial sketch just to kind of, okay, like, and then I didn't do any other sketches. I just took the first sketch and blew that one up into a full splash art because I didn't want to iterate on coming up with more interesting poses. And again, production is production. Who knows? Like, it is entirely possible, I wouldn't be surprised to learn, that whatever artist worked on this had a much more interesting idea in mind, and then someone somewhere in the production pipeline was like, I have concerns, right? Like, I have feedback or something, like, and they said, oh, this is maybe a little too much, and could be changing, and this is like the thing they had to make in a hurry at the last minute because they got so many feedback changes and no one, like, whoever was in charge of the thing just decided to be unhappy with the concept. Like, lots of stuff can happen in production. There's all kinds of reasons why things can end up the way they do, but the end result is this is a really bad splash art. This really kind of sucks. I don't like saying this. I very rarely say that about Riot's splash art output, because it tends to be very, very high quality, but this just isn't very good. There's no character action happening. There's nothing really interesting going on with the interaction. Like, there is no interaction with the background. Ivern isn't in an environment. There's just kind of stuff around him. Yeah, no, this sucks. I'm sorry. Like, that's my reaction to this. It sucks, and I really don't like it, and I am kind of baffled that Riot let that come through the quality control pipeline, because they're usually really careful about ensuring that they have very high quality splash arts for their characters, because that's a huge part of how they sell the skins, and this just doesn't look good at all. Like, really, a splash art, imagine for me a second here, a splash art where it's Ivern and Daisy and Ashe, right? Like, these characters, like, Ivern is supposed to be connected to Ashe, right? So, like, it's Ivern and Ashe standing on Daisy's head and, like, looking out over the landscape or something, some kind of interaction where the splash art also draws the connection between Ivern's head and Ashe's bow. They don't usually do multi-character splash arts unless it's for something special, but, like, it's some part of his splash art, Ivern's splash art, that would evoke Ashe as a character, I think would do a lot to help it. I don't know, man. Like, just anything other than this. Anyway, enough with the negativity. Holy fucking shit. Holy fucking shit. Holy fucking shit. I'm sorry, are you seeing this? Holy fucking shit. Holy shit, this is pretty. And it's not just, like, oh, Irelia's painted very nicely, and she's, like, reaching into the camera, and there's, like, foreshortening on it. It's, like, kind of dramatic. It's, like, it's this sense of scale and the sense of space that this splash art creates around her. It's the flow, right? Because you have this, you can see this circular flow, right? Like, that's happening. All of the landscape around her sort of flowing into this sweeping motion that's sort of part of her gesture, right? And you have all these spirit arms, like, holding the, like, doing stuff with the blades around, and, like, and it's especially the depth in the image that I like. Like, you can just see this fucking bleach-ass Bankai, like, Zenbun Sakura. Like, she fucking activated her Bankai, and you're about to get your shit rocked. Just this infinite field of just, like, swords dramatically, ominously rising out of the ground, right? Just present in the space. Now, I don't know why Yone is here, and I don't know why Yasuo is here. Neither of those characters seem to be connected to Irelia in the lore of Spirit Blossom, particularly. Irelia is the bodyguard of the Wandering Queen, right? She does become an Akana spirit, not an Azakana, but an Akana spirit. So I guess maybe that's where she has some overlap with Spirit Blossom, Yasuo, and Yone. I don't know why they're cameoing here, though, and Ashe isn't. That's a little bit odd to me, but holy fucking shit, what a splash art. What a fucking splash art. Look at the painting look at the way they handle the light here also, right? Like, normally, typically in splash art, like, and this is like most splash art you'll ever see, how do we designate who the main character is? How do we lead the audience's attention to the main character? Well, with light. Whatever is highlighted, literally lit up with light, tends to be the main character of the artwork. Not so much here. Like, here, Irelia almost looks like she's in shadow, right? Like, she is in shadow, right? And all of the light is everywhere else in the painting. She's standing in this sea, this ocean of these beautifully painted bright flowers that are casting glow up on her from below. Very dramatic lighting, by the way. And she herself kind of looks shadowed, kind of looks dark in the middle of all of that, which is like, that's striking. That's a fantastic way to use the contrast, right? Like, rather than using light, we use contrast. We use the fact that she's a shadow in the center of the screen to draw the audience's attention to her. I think that's fantastic. Look at the rendering on like her sash, her scarf here, as it like disintegrates into like these paint spatters, almost like the fucking threads of gold that are following down along it. Beautiful foreshortening as well. Like that's any kind of thing of like the hand pointing into the screen can tend to be a difficult foreshortening to do. It can be difficult to create an appealing hand pose in these situations. She's like, whatever artist is working on this is doing a pretty darn good job at making this hand pose look very sort of dramatic and appealing. And also managing the foreshortening. Like, there's definitely some lens distortion that's happening in this image, right? Because we have this, like, extreme three-point perspective thing going on, where we can see, like, down to Irelia's legs, where, like, we have this foreshortening and, like, this thinning down and, like, the broaden out. And managing to do that with the proportionality of this character without making her look like she's cartoonishly distorted, like, still look cool and kind of grounded in the aesthetic, that's no easy feat. That's a difficult fucking thing to do. There's a command of light and shadow here that I really, really quite admire the craft of this. And also just the fact that the flowers... Like, there are many, many ways to make it easier to draw a huge field of, like, flowers or grass or plants or any like, repeating... sort of textural background shape that you want to add to an image. There are many, many ways to make that easier. There are brushes, there are like clone stamps. You can do all kinds of copy and paste shenanigans in order to make that work. But the thing is, like, I'm not seeing a lot of that. I'm looking at the background and I'm not seeing a lot of cases where I go, oh, okay, that's the same flower repeated twice. Like, even these two, like this one here and that one there, they're pointing in the same direction. They kind of have the same tone, but, like, they're physically... They're not clones. They're not copies. They didn't just copy-paste them. I don't know for sure. Like, I would imagine they must have used some kind of brush, some kind of tool to make it easier to do all of this, but as far as I can tell by looking, it looks to me... like they fucking hand-painted all of the flowers in the background, right? And again, I don't know for sure that they did. Maybe there are ways they are concealing, like, the little shortcuts that they took, but it looks like they hand-painted all of them. That's the point. Like, it looks like that. This looks like a completely hand-painted fucking background full of flowers. And that's a fuck of a lot of flowers, man! That's a lot of them! That's a lot of patience! That's really impressive. Like, it's the drama, it's the depth of field, like, it's this infinite expanding dark ocean of just, like, blades pointing towards the sky this way, and Irelia sort of in the center of that, seemingly directing it all. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous fucking splash art. It really, really is. This is really fucking pretty. I really like this. Irelia herself, as a character design in the model... I mean, yeah, I don't think I have a lot of negatives to say about this, actually. Really. She's supposed to be, like, the ready hand. Like, she's supposed to be the guardian of the wandering queen, who is Ashe in this situation, who, like, failed in her duty because, like the queen, like, she got into a fight with the Grove Mother for whatever reason, and then Ashe tried to stop them, and then she sort of died in the middle of the conflict, and then Irelia failed to protect her master. Now she's sort of doing a wandering Ronin kind of thing, which, again, maybe that's why Ashe and Yone are there, sort of supposed to be related to them in that sense. I do like the irony that Irelia, like, in main lore, the reason Swain has a demon arm is because Irelia cut his arm off, right? Like, she's the one who disarmed him. And then he struck his deal with Raum, and now he has a demon arm. I like the little irony that in this skin line, she seems to have had her arm cut off and have a demon. I like that. That's a little meta sort of resonance thing that I quite enjoy. I think that's cool. As for her outfit, again, like, I don't know that I'm getting bodyguard to the queen or captain of the royal guard or like sworn defender of a single person from this so much necessarily. It's not that I'm not getting it, it's just it's not obvious. It doesn't jump out at me so much. But what I am getting from it though is something like it's probably a bit too fancy and clean to really look like a wanderer, but with the half robe of like this dark color that sort of overlaps the lighter color of like her outfit, where like she has this white sleeve and then she has like this dark, and then she has this sleeveless arm. There's definitely some Ronin in there, right? Like, because the classic visual signifier of the Ronin is this idea of like the robe over the chest, halfway over the chest, and then one arm that's like stuck inside the robe, but the arm is like sleeveless and naked. And that's sort of like, I believe it's like a visual signifier of like the shame of having lost a master or not having someone to swing your sword for, like something along those lines. It's kind of there here. Like she has the one arm that's sleeved, and then she has the one arm that's not, and the one arm that's not is also like a demon arm. I think the shoulder piece kind of ruins it. I think that shoulder piece needs to go on the other side. I think this needs to be like a naked arm that's like completely unadorned. So on the left, she has like the remnants of her old life as like the guardian of the queen, like the fancy robes and the fancy shoulder piece and like all of the, like maybe some more of the gold goes over here and like more of like all the fancy shit. And then over on the other side, she has her new existence, like this darker existence with these darker colors are dominating and the dark arm, and there's no adornment, there's no jewelry, there's nothing fancy because this is her as a wanderer, right? Roaming the endless night burdened by great regret. Like that, you could definitely do that. I think the shoulder piece needs to go on the other side. It probably is a thing about preserving the... Yeah, like it's probably partly about preserving silhouette with Irelia a little bit, although I think that's a hard argument to make, that you're concerned about preserving her silhouette when a huge part of Irelia's silhouette is her blades. And, like, those blades don't look like the old blade. Like, that doesn't look the same. That doesn't look the same at all. So, like, okay, like, maybe it's about preserving silhouette, but that's... But you're already not doing that, so I don't think that's a valid argument. I think that gold piece needs to go on the other side. I think the right side needs to look more like, sparse and kind of poor, in air quotes, like less expensive, and then the left side, which is the remnant of her old life, needs to look much more expensive, like much more fancy. I think that could do some storytelling for it. That's not a huge criticism, though. Like, that's not a huge problem with the character design as such. Just some refinements that could maybe be made. I mean, I think I'm being biased a little bit, at least, by the splash art. I think the splash art being as fucking beautiful as it is kind of doing a lot to make me feel charitable about the way that Irelia is put together here. They are managing her blades really well. Like the way that they sort of arrange themselves around her as she goes, as she moves and she does things. Right, that's her cue. Oh, that's her taunt? Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, like, they're managing the blades really well here. Like, the way that they're shaped relative to what Irelia has got going on. Yeah, I don't think I have any major criticisms, really, of Irelia here. Like, they could do a few more things to make the storytelling clearer, but for the most part, this works for what it is, I think. Again, since, like... If Irelia, again, is supposed to have been, like, a guard captain or bodyguard in a previous life, I don't think this is, like, terrible. I don't think this is not as bad as with Zyra in terms of, like, it's just a Spirit Blossom costume. I think with the dark and light split, they're doing something that feels like they're clearly engaging with some storytelling for the character. I feel like they could probably have been more careful about applying the gold and the brighter colors, especially, like, the sash in order to, like, really let that come through, but this is pretty good. This is pretty fucking solid, actually, and, like, holy fucking shit, though. Look at this fucking splash art. Jesus Christ. Tough thing. Like, I will say, I also put this thing up against some tough competition, right? Like, wow, like, maybe not a fair comparison. It's like shooting a sparrow with a cannon. Alright, Bard, then. I mean, I do love my Bard. I do love it when Bard is just like they use the fact that he doesn't really have a head, he only has a mask, as part of the character design. It is said that the keeper of the garden drifts among the flowers, gathering wayward memories left behind by travelers who wished to forget their pain. Though some are not yet ready to settle, the sprites of memory remain safe in the keeper's care. Okay, so he's related to Zyra then. Like, Zyra is then not the gardener of the garden. I guess he's the keeper of the garden, as it were, and she's the one who spawned it or made it in some way, and he's supposed to be the keeper of the garden. So, okay, so if Zyra then... I still don't understand why Zyra's shape language is so aggressive for that, but I guess Bard has taken the job of being the soft part of forgetting, I suppose. Like, he's sort of taken on the role of, like, oh yeah, forgetting is a very soft, gentle thing, so here's a soft, gentle, round, pleasant blob character to sort of take care of that. So, like, I guess, sure. But again, if he's supposed to be the keeper of the garden, right? Like, and his meeps are, like, supposed to be these manifestations of people's sad memories, right? I feel like, again, there's an opportunity here to engage with some visual ideas about, like, gardening and, like working in a garden, doing plant life work. Like, he looks like a herald. Like, he looks, like, with the flower trumpet, he almost looks like he belongs in the fairy court skin line as, like, the trumpeter of the court, right? Whereas, if he was supposed to be, like, a gardener or a keeper of the garden, I feel like there are things you could do, like giving him something that looks like overalls instead of these pantaloon things. Or, yeah, somehow evoking gardening tools. Because, like, the flowers and, like, the things, like, they sort of work. Right? Like that he has this little trunk of a tree that grows out and holds his hat, and then, like, these little bits. Like, that works. The big flower petals standing in for his beard is like, okay, I guess that makes sense. I kind of would have preferred if instead of doing these big, chunky leaves, they had done, like, a big, bushy, like, beard of leaves. I guess that would sort of step a little bit on Elderwood Bard, who was sort of doing that thing. The trouble I have here is that this looks like a tongue. It looks like a tongue. Like, it looks rather too much like this is like a big, fat, floppy, wet, thick tongue that's sort of laying on top of him rather than being like a leaf beard kind of situation. It looks kind of wet and kind of a little bit gross. Honestly, to look at, it looks kind of like, imagine touching that thing. What do you feel like it would feel like under your fingers? I think it would feel really kind of soft and slimy. Like, not soft as in, like, pleasant, but like sort of springy, right? Like flesh almost. And it's like, oh, it's not really the vibe of Bard usually. It's not really like, I am made of the flesh of the earth, right? Something about that doesn't quite work for me. I also kind of don't... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, hang on. Let me just... Before I commit to that... Let me just... Yeah, because, like, you look at Bard's regular body, right? Like, sort of in the lore, Bard sort of fashions this body out of whatever he can find lying around, right? Like, this is not really a body as such. This is just he chooses a bunch of stuff to help him create a form that he can puppet around the material universe, right? So you have this sort of sackcloth body almost, that he's sort of put together. And Bard is round. He is sort of like a little bloated and a little fat, but it's managed quite well, like in sort of a way that's quite cohesive. They've done something with Spirit Blossom Bard where, look at that, right? When you look at him, clearly this is supposed to evoke a pot belly, right? Like a pot belly that's like being held in by the belts, and it's like, it's sort of, he's supposed to look a little fat here, right? Kind of. Except, no. This is not connected to that at all. It's not that he has like a pot belly that's poking out over the belt. It's that he has, this thing is just, this piece of cloth is just kind of bulging and thick. I mean, I guess it's supposed to work from this angle, in which case it's fine. I'm looking at it wrong when I'm looking at it like this, but yeah, something about the way they handle the shape, the volume of Bard here. Both like the leaf tongue thing and the way they handle his belly. And sort of the weird bulbousness of it all. This really doesn't work for me very much. Like, the mask is cool. I like the mask. I like that it's a floating mask. I really like the idea that Bard's actual body is like this sapling tree, right? Like, that sort of pokes a little bit of its trunk up under the hat, and then, like, it pokes its, like, top leaves out of that. I think that's a very cool idea, that he's, like, sort of a plant wearing a human disguise kind of vibe. I wish that was more in evidence anywhere else on him, though. Like, I wish you could kind of see, like, underneath his sleeves that is, like, plant roots that are coming out and filling the gloves with fingers, right? Like, I wish there was a little bit more of sort of, like, this is a tree wearing clothes vibes to him than there are, because it's an idea that seems to be there, but just isn't expressed anywhere else in the character design except just here. And when you're looking at him from here, it's like, it's not really visible. It's not really part of the character design. Yeah, I don't know, man. This Bard doesn't work for me. I think... like, it doesn't really have a lot of personality the way that Cafe Cutie's Bard does, or Bard. Bard is still the best Bard skin. This is the best one. This is the perfect Bard skin. It's ideal. You may not like it, but this is what double plus S tier skin design looks like. This one feels kind of gross in a way, for lack of a better word. This feels a little, just kind of, and without a really strong concept to anchor it. So I don't know about Bard, really. Like, it works better in the splash art. Most things do, obviously. Like, it works a little better in splash art. It probably looks better in-game when he has, like, his visual effects on him and stuff. Actually, let's look at the skin spotlight. Maybe I'm being unfair to it because I am looking at it in the model viewer that's not replicating all its visual effects. Let me just... Let's see it in motion the way it's supposed to look a little bit. The visual effects on the head definitely add a little bit, I guess, but this still looks like a big, floppy, gross, fleshy tongue to me. Like, this still looks like he almost looks like some kind of a sea creature, or like an axolotl almost in the way that or like a fringed lizard maybe. The way that this doesn't look like plants. This doesn't really look like leaves at all. Yeah. I don't especially enjoy saying it because Bard is maybe one of my favorite character designs in all of League of Legends, but I don't think this skin is very good. I really don't think this works very well. Like, just something about the shape language and the design of it all. it feels gross. Something about it feels gross. Not in an extreme way, not in a way that I go, ooh, gross. Like, but just kind of in a slightly like, oh, this is, the vibes are off kind of way. Yeah, no, that one's not great, I think. Nice splash art, though. Like, again, not gonna knock the artistry on display in the splash art, because... Although, again, this really just looks like, oh, this looks gross. And it doesn't feel like it's intended to be gross. If it was meant to be gross, if it was meant to be off-putting, then that would be a different story. But I don't think it is. I think it's meant to be either pretty or meant to be sort of soft and inviting and cheerful and fun, like Bard usually is. And, I'm just not getting that, man. I'm sorry, this isn't working for me. And so what an angle. And so we come to Spirit Blossom Ashe. So Skin Spotlights uncovered some data in the data mining that indicated that once upon a time, and certainly at one point in the production, this was supposed to be another Exalted skin. This, like, they wanted to throw this one into the gacha machine, and at some point they thought the better of it. And that can be for many reasons. Like, that can be because maybe originally it started as concept development to be an Exalted skin, and then they decided, no, this is not really up to the quality standards for an Exalted skin, or it fits better as a legendary. All kinds of reasons why. It's not necessarily anything sinister. It's just a funny thing to sort of get a peek behind the curtain of how they decide these things, that Exalted skins really are just legendary skins that are sold at 5 times the price of an Ultimate skin. It really is just kind of shitty. As for Ashe herself, well, we talked about her. Like, she's the Wandering Queen, right? Like, she's this mythological figure in Ionian folklore about, like, a queen who once upon a time was curious and traded place with the Grove Mother. We don't know who the Grove Mother is. Is it Daisy? I don't think that character has been revealed at all, and the cost of the choice was high, and she returned to see her loyal Ready Hand and the Grove Mother locked in combat. Throwing herself between them, she died in the Ready Hand's arms. Her final words an apology. Now she roams the wilds, guiding the lost. It's like, okay, so we have this tragic character, right? Like this queen who sort of maybe longed to be free of her obligations, something like that, like who certainly didn't want to just be a queen, who wanted to try and see other things, right, out in the world. And she paid a price for her negligence to her people, right? Like, she was irresponsible, consequences happened, now she has to deal with them and sort of live with the guilt, and she has to atone for what she did by roaming the wilds and guiding the lost, right? Like, sort of Spirit Blossom thing, right? Like, lost spirits that she finds, she helps them come back home. So that interacts pretty okay with Ashe's tracker thing. Like, that Ashe in base League of Legends is sort of conceptualized, oh, she's a hunter, she's a ranger out in the wilds, kind of doing that thing. That's okay. Like, that kind of works. And I will say, the costuming, short of the... Again, I don't really know why the skirt is so short, but the costuming, for the most part, does look queenly. Like, this does look like a sort of mythological queen out of the deep past of, like, a sort of East Asian mythology. I do think it's odd with the legs still, a little bit. I think it's a little odd that she has such long, completely bare legs. Like, for the most part, because, like, so much of the rest of the costuming here is extravagant, right? It's, like, all the way out there. It's like, this is, like, the beautiful outfit of, like, a mythological queen. I think the idea is that Ashe has kind of hiked up her skirt, and she's, like, sort of put it here to get it out of the way to give herself more freedom with her legs, which, okay. Like, I guess that makes sense. Like, that sort of works. Like, the idea that she has sort of tied her dress up to sort of get it out of the way so she can run around more effectively. I can see that as a narrative conceit. I guess that works. Yeah, I guess that works. I'm sort of rolling it over in my head, because, like, on the one hand, that kind of makes sense, that, like, she's this queen who wasn't really comfortable being a queen, maybe, so she was curious, and she tried to trade places with someone in a sort of Prince and the Pauper style situation, and that created some problems that she had to deal with. I can kind of see that, like, it sort of reflects the idea that she would be someone who would run away from the sort of cloying responsibilities of being a queen, like, and the dress is sort of symbolic of those responsibilities, that it, like, weighs her down, and it's, like, impractical, and she can't run around and be free as much. There's just... yeah, I don't know, the visual result of it is that we get this weird cutting in half, where she has so much detail and so much stuff going on up here, and then just bare legs, and then shoes. And it's the thing of, like, if this was meant to be like, oh, this is practical, right? Like, it's so that she can more practically run around in the wilderness. It's like, oh, okay, like, that's how she guides, like, the wild people around, the spirits around the wilds, right? Okay, cool. Then why those shoes, then? Like, why these really impractical sandals that look like they're barely being held onto her feet? Like, why isn't she then wearing some more practical foot gear? Like, if that's the split, we want to create this split in her character design, right? Between the sort of ceremonial, the queenly, the stately, like, oh, this is like she belongs at court, versus here's like, oh, she belongs out in the wild adventuring, running around. I would have probably replaced her shoes with something that looks a little bit more practical then, like something that looks a little bit more workable as outdoors gear. Maybe just given her pants, like, just again to emphasize the difference between the practical side and the ceremonial side. Like, I don't know, like, something about this feels too bare. It feels like too empty. Like, if the detail contrast is, yeah, I guess it depends. Like, if you accept the storytelling, right, like this, she's hiked up her skirt and now she's running around more freely. If you accept that storytelling as cohesive, then it probably works better for you. For me, it just kind of, something about it just doesn't work. But that might just be a personal thing. That might just be me, really. That might not really be a design flaw. I don't know. I kind of like the acting on this idle animation. They really did give her archer's fingers here, too, by the way. Like, whoa! Those are some arrow shooting fingers. They look a little weird and knobbly. That doesn't matter, right? Like, because you see the skin like this, so it's just meant to be visible in that sense, but that's a little bit funny. Also, you can see a little bit of disconnect between the movement of the bow and the rest of the character. That's pretty normal for characters and props in League of Legends in the game engine. That's often just kind of how it shakes out. It usually looks better in-game. The model viewer also introduces some distortions in motion to the characters and doesn't quite do the physics engine things, I think, quite as well as the in-game engine does. I do like the bow, actually, as an element of this. I like the bow. Like, again, it could look a lot more like it came from Ivern. Like, it could look a lot more like it was cohesive with Ivern's character design. But I like the simplicity of this bow. If we look at... where's the other one? Lunar Empress Ashe, right? Like, this is another design that's sort of meant to evoke the heavenly queen of some ancient mythology kind of vibe, right? She has this very elaborate bow, right? Like, with all of these, like, fancy moving pieces and things like that. I think same thing with, what's the other one? Fey Dragon, I think, also had a very fancy-ass bow. Yeah, like this, right? Like, Ashe, with her character designs, a lot of her skins often use the bow and make the bow, like, real, like, almost excessively fancy. Like, Crystallis Modus, I think, also does something. Yeah, excessively fancy, excessively over-decorated to sort of drive home the fanciness of the character design. How about Coven Ashe? I don't remember her bow. Yeah, like, same thing here. So I really do quite like on Spirit Blossom that this is quite simple, relatively speaking. Like, it's still magical. It still has the floaty thing going on where it's not really connected, but it still works. But this is a really simple bow design, right? Like, really not very fancy, not very ornamented. That has a nice contrast with her costume design, because the costume design from the thighs up, I guess, does look very sort of like, oh, this is a court, this is something courtly, this is something like ceremonial, this is something like... And then the bow just kind of looks like a pair of branches, right? Like, that are sort of shaped into a bow shape with a handle attached to them, but not over-decorated, not full of gold, not full of decorations, not full of all kinds of everything. In fact, it still has the leaves on it, almost as though it was taken directly from the tree like 5 minutes ago, which in lore, I guess it kind of was. I like the stark simplicity of that. That there is, the only fanciness there is just that the branches sort of curl around each other in an organic manner. But there is like a simplicity and a humility to this bow design, relative especially to the costume, that I think I like that contrast. Like, the thing with the legs and the hiking up with the dress, I'm more lukewarm on it. Something about it doesn't vibe with me, and I'm not 100% sure how to articulate it, but the bow, that's really good. I really like the interaction of the bow with the rest of the costume. And I like the costume itself as being like she is an ancient queen from an East Asian mythology. It's like, oh no, yeah, like the big sort of the tiara crown thing that she's got on her head, like the decorations, the necklace, the sort of the arm bits, like the big fancy belt with the many layers that are sort of wrapping around her thigh, like her waist and hips. That all works. Like, there's a lot of sort of decorativism and like the fancy long hair, especially like this really, really conspicuously long hair. That does evoke that kind of vibe very effectively. The thing, like I have something personal, for some fucking reason, this doesn't quite work for me with the long legs. For some reason, that doesn't. And it's not sexualization, because this is not sexy. It's just something about how bare that is and how absent of detail. It's not quite vibing. Something about the shoes, I don't know. But the rest of it, the rest of the character design here? Yeah. I really quite like this, actually. Like, as a cohesion between the story and the character design, I think this is probably the best of the Spirit Blossom skins in terms of making the character design work with what the character's story is supposed to be, being an expression of that story. This is probably the best Spirit Blossom skin on that front, like as a design expression of a narrative. This is actually really good. I need to figure out why I don't like this. I don't know, I'll have to think about that a little bit on my own time, why this isn't quite reading to me the way it is, because I think it should. It really should. It should read really well. It should work. That she's hiking up her skirt, and therefore she has bare legs. It might just be the shoes. It might just be that she's doing this thing to be more practical and be able to move more freely, but then she still wears stupid shoes. They should just have made her barefoot. Please no, like, don't give me any fucking feet comments for this. I think they should just have made her barefoot. I think maybe that's it. I think it's because they don't quite commit to the split, right? That above here, all ceremonial outfit, queenly, all of that, everything. But below there, it's more like child of nature, wants to run free kind of thing. I think if they'd just given her bare feet instead, or practical sandals, like some really sort of, like, very humble, simple, practical sandals instead, or bare feet, like something like that, I think it would have worked 100%. I think that would have sold it to me. It's because they're still stupid sandals. It's because they're still stupid, impractical, kind of useless sandals for running around in. Like, there isn't even a fucking... Nothing is holding her feet inside of these things. Look at that. Like, it's just... She moves her foot even a little bit. She tries to kick or jump or run. That foot is gonna... That sandal sole is gonna slide off her foot and she's gonna break her fucking ankle immediately. This looks so impractical that the act of doing something, oh, I need to be more practical, I'll hike up my dress, is like, then take your fucking shoes off, girl! Like, get rid of those things. Like, fashion yourself a pair of sandals out of driftwood and twine. It would be better for you to run around the wilderness with. I think maybe that's it. I think it's maybe just that it's supposed to be a practical gesture, but it doesn't look practical. I think that might be it. Outside of that, and as a concept, this is actually really good. I was kind of lukewarm on it when I first saw it. Like, I was kind of like, I'm not so sure this really works. I'm not so sure this is actually good. But having looked at it a lot more, I think it actually really works. Oh, I forgot about this, though. Right. That's the thing, right? Like, she has an evolution mechanic. Doesn't she? Yeah. Where as she levels up, the bow becomes fancier. Oh, right, that's true. Ah, shit. Well, that fucking dropped it in the... I completely forgot about that. I forgot there was that thing to it. Remember all that positive stuff I had to say about the bow being, like, really kind of simple and that really works for her? Yeah, maybe not. Actually, maybe I take that back. Maybe I take that back, actually. Maybe that's Maybe they kind of drop that shit on the floor. Maybe they kind of throw that out. I guess here we can see that how this might have been supposed to be an exalted skin, because it like Zanusal, it has an evolving weapon mechanic. Yeah, like with the base bow, I really like it. I like the humility and simplicity of that very simple bow next to the very elaborate queen costume that she's sort of trying to get out of her way. At this point, it's like, no, it's all elaborate now. Now the bare legs look even stupider. Now it looks even sillier to say that she's being, like, simple and humble and practical and, like, being one with the wilderness or pursuing some kind of natural simplicity away from courtly life or whatever. No, it's that. Now it's just, yeah. They fucked it up. I mean, it's still not quite as extravagant as some of the other Ashe bows, but oh, they could have deleted that. Like when they made that into a legendary instead of an exalted, they could have deleted that part of the bow. They could have gotten rid of that. I don't think we needed that. I think keeping the bow simple would have made this really, really good. I guess that explains why it looks like this in the splash art. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that sucks. I really liked the simplicity. I thought the simplicity was really cool. I thought it was very striking, actually. Oh, well. Oh, well. It was supposed to be gacha trash at some point, I guess. So, we see the remnants of that there. That's actually... fuck it. This video is long as shit, but I'm going off on a rant anyway. This is something I've been talking about. This is part of the reason why I hate that Riot fell into the gacha business model, that they actually finally committed to that shit, because this is what the gacha business model does. The gacha business model, if you want to make skins that are, like, supposed to induce people to do just one more pull until they pay $250 fucking dollars for it, potentially. If you want to do that, you kind of have to ramp up the intensity of everything, right? Like, everything has to get fancier. Everything has to get prettier. Everything has to get sexier. Everything has to get, like, more and more and more, like really ramp up the shallow base appeal of just something that's complicated and over-designed and elaborate. Oh, that's high value. That's premium. Therefore, more money because it's over-designed, right? And it creates a negative pressure against simplicity. It creates a negative pressure against simple ideas, against starkness, against humility, right? Like, against things that are supposed to look kind of humble and down to earth, right? It creates a bias against them, and you can kind of see that expressed here. That when you have a thing with this fucking... when it needs to be premium, right? Like, when it needs to be like, oh, this is worth a lot of money because it's special and fancy. Well, you do shit like this. You take something that has a power, that has a strength in being simple, and you have to overcomplicate it because you have to ramp it up, because it has to get fancier, because it has to get prettier, because it has to be worth $250 worth of fucking gacha pulls, right? This was almost great. Damn it. Oh, that kind of makes me sad. That kind of makes me sad. It really does. Oh well. C'est la vie. I'll write my shorts reviews of these skins now, I think. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Members get to be down there on the thing, going by, like, wee, it's your names, look, you recognize yourself, and therefore you want to give me money, wee! Also, early access to videos, if that's something you care about. So there's that. Bye.